Eastern Rosella has a fractured wing. He's probably going to be in care with us for at least 4 weeks, I would think.
So you can see with each animal the amount of work that goes into just one individual.
Bonorong is Tasmania's biggest wildlife rescue service. The sanctuary spends about $1.5 million a year rehabilitating native wildlife.
This is Winnie. She's a gorgeous little wombat. This one, her mum was hit by a car, unfortunately, but it's a very long process with wombats. You're looking at sort of 2 to 2.5 years of age before they can go back to the wild.
But many of the protected birds and animals being cared for at Bonorong are being killed in their thousands elsewhere in Tasmania under property protection permits.
It's just like a slap to the face. You know, we've got on one hand decisions being made and people being supported, permits being given to rehabilitate these species and thousands of dollars being spent, and then that same area is giving out permits to shoot the same species. I mean, does that not sort of seem a bit ridiculous?
Property protection permits allow owners to poison, trap or shoot wildlife to prevent them destroying crops and equipment or infrastructure. Official figures show millions of native animals were killed under the permits in the 3.5 years to June, including wombats, black swans, cockatoos, kangaroos, possums, paddymmelons and wallabies.
It's a remarkable tally when you look at the numbers of birds, numbers of mammals involved, and it just beggars the question, you know, how much of this really is necessary?
Farmers don't like killing these animals. They would much prefer not to, but at the same time, they're losing up to 20% of their grazing, land.
Tasmanian Farmers and Graziers Association President Ian Saw says property protection permits are a necessary last resort for many producers.
We've had farmers who have come to us and they've put in a grain crop, say a wheat crop, and instead of getting 10 tonnes per hectare, they're getting between 5 to 6 tonnes per hectare. So that means that the profit of that crop has gone. If we're not growing it and it comes from overseas, you'll be paying more.
Tasmania's Environment Department says it explores other options with people who apply for permits, and since mid-2019 it's inspected almost 200 properties to see if permits are necessary and rejected 50 applications.
So they're not given out willy-nilly, I can assure you.
Critics point out the department is responsible for the protection of local wildlife, even as it issues permits for thousands to be killed.
So you've got the one agency doing the counting, doing the analysis, doing the reporting and issuing the permits. And we really do need a degree of independent scrutiny of some of this information to get a proper sense of whether these populations can withstand this level of harvesting, be it bird or mammal. We need far more detailed analyses to be undertaken.
In a statement, the Tasmanian Minister for Primary Industries, Joe Palmer, says independent reviews have found the department's monitoring program methodologies are appropriate, and she's confident wildlife is being sustainably managed.
We used to get concerned about, the possums coming in at the night and the paddymmelons and the wallabies coming in and so on. And, losing sleep over it and wandering around the vineyard at night with torches. Come.
Paul Williams owns a winery near Hobart with plenty of bush and native animals nearby.
We were never going to go down the road of actually removing them because this was their home and we were the people who had moved in.
So what kind of fencing have you got set up here?
Okay, so it's a fairly basic farming fence. Wire netting here to keep out the paddymmelons and the wallabies. The wire netting will extend on the ground on the other side and that will stop wombats from digging underneath. And then finally, there is a wire along here which can be electrified.
He's also previously used netting and he mows the grass near the bush, encouraging wildlife to graze there rather than on his grapes.
The whole crop protection thing, we believe, is totally unnecessary.
You normally get around this area.
Bennett's wallaby.
The Farmers and Graziers Association says while it's a large part of the solution, even good fencing has weak points.
Even though you've got a fence that's worth $20,000 a kilometre, they'll still get their way through. We have to be able to control these animals the best way possible, otherwise we just don't have any food, we don't have any fibre.
It's this war with wildlife all the time. It's always us versus them instead of learning to live alongside them and finding more sustainable long-term ways. And at some point we have to say enough's enough.